Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're going to be checking out one of the brand new Shadow Pokemon in the world of Pokemon Go, Shadow Steelix. Shadow Steelix is a ground and steel type Pokemon with the moveset of Dragon Tail, Psychic Fangs, and your choice of Crunch or Earthquake. I decided to test it out in some Great League practice battles with members of my Discord, and honestly, thanks to that Shadow attack bonus, Shadow Steelix is a lot scarier in the 2-shield. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and check out Shadow Steelix in action in the Great League. Hopping into the first match, picking up a pretty neutral lead, Shadow Steelix into Lickitung. Considering I have a Trevenant in the back, I'm definitely just going to stay in this lead and begin to fire off the Psychic Fangs spam. First Psychic Fangs lands, opponent is going to save switch into Nidoqueen, but this is not much of a better matchup for my opponent. I'm just going to stay in here with Steelix and continue to spam out Psychic Fangs. One really nice thing about Shadow Steelix compared to the regular is it actually feels like it does a meaningful amount of damage. They go for the Earth Power, and now I can just farm down. They're not going to be able to reach a second Earth Power, so I can just let that go. They only reach a Poison Fang, farm down, and leave with a nice amount of energy and HP for whatever they have in the back. My opponent is going to bring in their Medicham, and at this point, I'm just going to stay in. I'm going to go for the Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs going to be doing some chip damage, and now I'm going to fire off the last second Crunch. If they let this through, this will do a surprising amount of damage. Steelix able to get a Medicham into the red, and now I can bring in Trevenant onto the Medicham, and then I have my own Medicham for the Lickitung. I'm expecting a switch, so I'm going to immediately bring in my Medicham, and they do bring in their Lickitung. Body Slam is able to land. They have 2 shields, so at this point, I'm just going to fully commit to a farm down. I'm not going to be throwing any charge moves in this match. I'm basically just going to try and go for the full farm. I'm going to continue to farm. They're going to be able to reach a Body Slam. Body Slam is not going to be enough to KO here. I should be able to get at least one more counter in, which will be big. That counter is going to get the Lickitung low. Can I Shadow Claw down with Trevenant? Yes, I can. And from there, I can Shadow Claw down the Medicham as well and secure the win. Picking up a pretty nice lead in the next match, Shadow Steelix into Cofagrigus. This is definitely where I want to see Coffin on this team, so I'm going to be staying in here and playing it out. My opponent goes for a Crunch Catch onto Slurpuff, but I'm able to hold on to my energy and fire off the Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs is going to make Slurpuff a lot easier for Trevenant to deal with. Although I do still have to be mindful of a potential Flamethrower, so I will commit the shield. It is the Flamethrower, and then I'm going to farm up to a Seed Bomb plus a Shadow Ball. This way, if they let it through, I have a Shadow Ball loaded so I can win CMP over Cofagrigus. Seed Bomb is going to get the shield, my opponent wanting to try and flip switch advantage, but I am not going to let that happen, seeing as I have a Medicham in the back. So I'm going to double shield, farm down, and I have a Shadow Ball to win CMP over the Cofagrigus. Cofagrigus did go for the charge move, which is nice, because this way they're not going to get any extra farm onto my Trevenant. So my Trevenant is going to be taken out here by the Shadow Ball, but I can bring back in the Steelix. Steelix going to farm up and fire off the Crunch. Now, Cofagrigus is a pretty tanky Pokemon, but Shadow Steelix is able to take it out, and in the back, my opponent has a Cresselia. Shadow Steelix able to reach another Crunch. Cresselia, again, a pretty tanky Pokemon, but look how much damage that Crunch does. Shadow Steelix is an absolute beast. Grass Knot, not enough to KO. They're forced to fire off the back-to-back moves, and from here, I'm in a pretty comfortable position. Unfortunately, I did have the wrong Medicham moveset in this game, so instead of being able to just throw an Ice Punch, I'm forced to farm all the way up to a Psychic, but either way, this game is definitely over, as a Moonblast is not going to be enough to KO Medicham, and this Resistant Psychic will be comfortably taking out Cresselia, and that is a good game. Hopping into the next match, leading Shadow Steelix into another Lickitung. Same game plan as before, I'm just going to stay in this lead and play it out. This time I do decide to build up to the Crunch, but honestly, in this matchup, it's probably worth just firing off the Psychic Fangs as soon as you get it, because there is no shot Lickitung is going to be shielding the first move. Licky does have a lot of energy. They decide to bait with a Body Slam, and I'm able to successfully call it. Now that I've debuffed them, I'm going for the harder hitting Crunch. Crunch is able to get Lickitung low, and I get a defense drop as well. That's nice. Power Whip coming through, gets the Steelix low. Steelix able to farm down and win the zeros. In the back, they have a Shadow Venusaur, and honestly, a Shadow Venusaur with energy is pretty scary for my back line. They do have quite a bit of energy, and they're firing off their first move. They go for the Frenzy Plant bait. I'm going to farm up quite a bit and then bait with a Seed Bomb. This is a very risky bait. I need to get a shield, and I do. That's big. I'm going to fire off Seed Bomb number 2 on the CMP tie for the Venusaur. This Seed Bomb is able to get the final shield. That is massive. I'm going to commit the shield myself because I still don't know what they have in the back. I'm just going to continue to farm up here. Farming up, going for the Seed Bomb, and my opponent catches onto an Alolan Exeggutor, so they are running some serious spice. I'm going to bank the Seed Bomb and bring in Medicham. I should still be able to outpace them, because Dragon Tail to Draco Meteor does take a while. They fire off the Seed Bomb, that's not going to be enough to KO, and I'm able to reach the Ice Punch. Ice Punch will be taking out an entire herd of Alolan Exeggutor. Back in comes the Venusaur. Venusaur is forced to fire off a charge move, and I have the Seed Bomb loaded on my Trevenant. This is double resisted, but it's still enough to take out the Shadow Venusaur and secure the win. Very tough lead in the next match, Shadow Steelix into Talonflame. Talonflame hits my entire team for super effective damage, so it's an absolute nightmare Pokemon for me to see. They're going to fire off the Flame Charge, trying to boost up that Incinerate damage more and more. I'm going to commit the shield, and now do what Steelix does best, the Psychic Fang spam. Firing off the first one, they let it through. Firing off Psychic Fangs number 2. Are they willing to shield the Talonflame that's this low of health? They are not. They let it go, but my troubles are not over as they have a Sableye in the back. Another Pokemon that does very well against my backline. I'm going to use my final shield here on this foul play. Farm up and then bait with Psychic Fangs. I'm really hoping to get a shield here. Psychic Fangs onto the Sableye. Gets the shield in the back. They have their own Trevenant, and this is not good. Thankfully, I have gotten their Trevenant kind of low, so I'm just going to fire off the Seed Bomb right away. Seed Bomb gets the shield. They're going to continue to farm up quite a bit of energy on their Trevenant here. A Seed Bomb is not lethal from this range, so they are going to go straight for the Shadow Ball. I do have a Psychic Fangs loaded on my Shadow Steelix. My Steelix is very low, but with that extra Shadow damage, Psychic Fangs should come very close to KOing. Psychic Fangs gets them low. Steelix gets the farm down. In comes Sableye. Sableye just below half health. The question is, can Sableye get to the back-to-back charge moves before Medicham is able to take them out? This Ice Punch is going to be very close. Ice Punch gets the Sableye low. Medicham farms down and secures the win. Tough lead in the next match, Shadow Steelix into Medicham. I'm going to save switch into my own Medicham, and my opponent responds with an Air Slash Mandibuzz. This is a matchup where Medicham does have play. Despite the fact that both Air Slash and Aerial Ace hit me for super effective damage, neither are particularly great moves. They fire off the Aerial Ace, and I'm going to return fire with the Ice Punch. This Ice Punch will be getting the Mandibuzz deep into the red health. Ice Punch is able to land. The question is, can I force a shield here? It looks like the answer is no, but I think maybe my counter will KO here. So I commit the shield, go for the farm down. The counter doesn't KO, but I'm able to reach a last second Ice Punch. My opponent chooses to let it go, and I've one switch advantage. In the back, they have Registeel, and that is unfortunate. Shadow Steelix can put in a lot of work, but if you're going up against Medi plus Steel Cores, that is an area where Shadow Steelix can struggle. Focus Blast does a lot of damage, and I'm going to bring in Trevenant. So I do have a move saved on my Shadow Steelix, and I'm firing off the Shadow Ball right away. Shadow Ball is going to get the shield. Registeel. All their charge moves are going to be resisted, but even a resisted Zap Cannon is going to do a ton of damage. They get the attack debuff, and they're going to send in Medicham. Medicham is at enough for the Ice Punch, so I am going to commit the shield. I need to overfarm until 1 before they get to their charge move, but I miscount, and unfortunately, I trigger CMP, and that will remove any win con that I had in this match, as I'm no longer able to catch. Ice Punch will be taking out my Trevenant. They can safely farm down my Steelix. This crunch is going to get the Medicham low, but not quite low enough. Medicham counters down, and that is a good game. Great lead in the next match, Shadow Steelix into Froslass. These Dragon Tails are going to add up quite a bit. Opponent is going to bank some energy, save switch into Shadow Walrein, and I respond with my Medicham. Medicham does have a pretty nice matchup here, as I do tank 2 Icicle Spears. They fire off the first. From here, I can just commit to the farm down, but I make a massive mistake, and I click on the Ice Punch. The 2 a.m. plays coming back to haunt me as I lose CMP, and now I waste an entire Ice Punch worth of energy. You hate to see it. My opponent can pretty safely bring back in the Froslass if they want, or they could get energy on their third Mon, and that's what they decide to do. They're going to get energy on Vigoroth, hoping that it's going to be able to do well for them in the back. But the bad news for them is that I have a Trevenant waiting for the Vigoroth. I'm just going to keep farming, watch for the switch, and then fire off the Shadow Ball into the Froslass. Shadow Ball is going to grab a shield. I switch in Steelix, and I'm firing off the Crunch. This Crunch will basically KO if they let it through, which they do, nearly taking out the Froslass. I'm going to let this go. I do live a Shadow Ball, and from here, this game is over. Vigoroth going for the farm down, but Shadow Steelix is too tanky, able to reach a last-second Psychic Fangs, getting the shield, and from here, I mean, this game is well over. I don't have to shield anything on Trevenant, as any move that Vigoroth has is going to be resisted. Trevenant is able to make it to the Seed Bomb. Seed Bomb will be plenty enough damage to take out the Vigoroth and secure the win. Hopping to the final match, leading Shadow Steelix into Dubwool, and this is a pretty big core breaker for this line, as Dubwool does very well against both Steelix and Trevenant. I'm going to stay in with Steelix and fire off the Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs is able to land, and these Dragon Tails are adding up more and more. They go for the payback. That does a lot of damage. I'm going to bank the Psychic Fangs and switch into Trevenant. This is enough for another payback, so I am going to respect it with a shield. It is the payback, and my opponent responds with Toxapex. Toxapex does have a generally favorable matchup going up against Trevenant, but I do have an energy lead. I'm able to land the Shadow Ball, which is quite nice. They're going to be able to reach the Sludge Wave before I reach Shadow Ball number 2, and I have a decision to make. I decide to give up my final shield, and hopefully I can put it into a range where a Seed Bomb plus Farm is going to KO. So I'm going to fire off the Seed Bomb here, expecting my opponent to let it through, and they do, but my Farm falls just short, and they're able to reach a last-second Brine, and that is quite bad, because now I'm not going to be able to use a lot of my energy. Their final Pokemon is Runerigus, and unfortunately, this game is over. They're able to shield a Seed Bomb, even if I am able to successfully bait with a Psychic Fangs. At -1, an Ice Punch is not enough to KO. I switch in the Medicham, farming up. They're going to fire off the Shadow Ball. This Shadow Ball is going to deal a ton of damage onto the Medicham. I'm able to reach the last second Ice Punch, but my opponent makes a beautiful catch onto their Dubwool. I go for the Undercharge. I'm able to get the farm down, but it's just not enough. Runerigus is going to be able to finish off this game, and that is a good game. All in all, I was very impressed with Shadow Steelix. The damage output of Shadow Steelix compared to the regular is no joke and makes it a very scary Pokemon to go up against in shielded situations. Overall, this is going to be an absolutely incredible Pokemon in limited metas, and due to the extra damage from being Shadow, may honestly see some open Great League play as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.